Foresight finally finds the Monument of Ruin. They make a plan and decide to go inside. The other people involved in the quest also find the tomb. All of them go inside together. At first, they are welcomed by a group of skeletons. They destroy the skeletons effortlessly. They split up to cover larger landscape. Meanwhile, the moment that addressed them before they embarked on the journey to the Monument of Ruin was not really Moment. Instead, it was Lord Ains under the appearance of Moment. Apparently, the quest into the Monument of Ruin was actually a death sentence as they were headed to the great tomb of Nazarick. The group enter, but are caught by some of Lord Ains' maidens. They are made to fight Nazarick old guards. The guards are skeletons, which have magic weapons. All the people involved in the quest were made to fight the guards. They all lost and were killed. The ones that proved stubborn were sent to the dungeon for torture. Although some of them ran, the ones that ran found a door, and as instinct goes, they hid behind the door. They thought they had been saved, but that wasn't the case at all. The door was just a gateway. It teleported them to different places of torture. Foresight, on the other hand, was teleported to an arena. At the arena, they were welcomed by Mare. She introduced who Foresight was meant to fight. It was both unlucky and unfortunate that Foresight was up against Lord Ains. The fight was obviously unfair. The leader of Foresight wanted to talk his way out of the match. In the process, he ended up lying about something. When Lord Ains found out that he was lying, he got furious, but Lord Ains had to calm down. The magic caster amongst the group tried seeing through Lord Ains to know if he was skilled in magic. She couldn't, because of a ring Lord Ains was wearing. Lord Ains removed the ring, letting the magic caster see his true power. She fell down because of the magnitude of power Lord Ains had. She also told her team members to run, because there was no way of beating him. The leader of Foresight wasn't ready to give up easily, so he launched an attack, and with just one spell, Lord Ains killed him. The remaining two told the magic caster to run, but Lord Ains had other plans for her. Lord Ains sent one of his maids to kill the magic caster. He also finished off the remaining two Foresight members. The next day, Lord Ains commended Albedo for her role in killing all the intruders. He was rest assured that he would be able to leave her in charge whenever he has duties to be discharged outside of the temple. Meanwhile, the magic caster had promised to come back and take her two younger sisters with her. The magic caster had planned to use the money gotten from the quest to take care of her sisters and probably start a new life. Mare is sent to Riestes' kingdom. She is sent directly to the Emperor to deliver a message from Lord Ains. She goes over with a dragon and one of the maids in Nazarick. On getting there, she strikes her staff on the ground, which makes the ground open and swallow everyone into it. She did this to make a statement and destroy any nearby threat. She then hits the staff on the ground again, and this time, the ground closes. She asks for the whereabouts of the Emperor. When he came out, she gave him the instruction to come over to Nazarick and apologize for sending intruders into Lord Ains' temple. She made it clear to him all the consequences that would be involved if he doesn't come. The next day, the Emperor goes with his entourage and guards with the wizard Fluter to the Monument of Ruin. They are received by some maids. Fluter is shocked to see that the maids of Lord Ains could do 6th tier magic. The maidens lead away into the great tomb of Nazarick. Although the Emperor has a feeling that he may not come back out alive, he just decides to play it safe. On getting to Lord Ains' front, the Emperor thanks him for being patient and not acting out on the country. The Emperor tries to make an alliance with Lord Ains. Lord Ains accepts his terms and agrees to join the alliance. The Emperor leaves shortly after. The members of the Great Tomb of Nazarick try to inquire on why Lord Ains would accept an alliance with mere humans. Demiurge helps enlighten them. Back at the Riestes Kingdom, deliberate on whether to relinquish their power to Lord Ains or not, they draw to a conclusion that they would break ties with both kingdoms and fight. They plan to engage themselves in war. The king of the kingdom decides to send an army to Irantel. The army would be led by his son, Prince Barbro. 2 months later, all the nobles and the king are gathered at the Erantel in regards to the war they had been planning. They were making out a strategy to which they would execute their plan. After much planning, they agreed to send troops of 500 people, led by Prince Barbro, to Carne Village. The main reason for going to Carne Village was to get some information on Lord Ains. Meanwhile, the head warrior and his 2 comrades were trying to have some alone time to bond, as they knew a war was about to happen. This war was going to be a great war, the head warrior said. On the other hand, the Emperor requested for backup from Lord Ains. The Emperor knew that alone he won't be able to win against the Riestes kingdom. Without much time wasted, Lord Ains sent over 10,000 Dark Knights to the Emperor. Prince Barbro planned to use the villagers in Carne Village to try and stop Lord Ains from joining the alliance of Lord Ains and their opposite empire. Barbro knew that Lord Ains won't want to attack the villagers of Carne Village, so he decided to use them as bait. Meanwhile, at the village, Henri is having a hard time as village chief. Henri hated the fact that everyone she went to referred to her as chief. The royal army, led by Prince Barbro, finally arrives in Carne Village. Henri tries to buy the ogres and goblins some time to hide, as she keeps making up excuses on why she couldn't open the gate. Meanwhile, Lupus Regina tells Lord Ains about the happenings in the village. Lord Ains tells her to lay low and inquire about the prince's motives for coming. He also tells Lupus Regina to make sure the 4 important people in the village are safe. Out of frustration, Prince Barbro tells the guards to take down one of the observation towers in the village. Seeing that the royal army were attacking, the villagers turn to Henri to give an instruction on what to do. Henri decides to declare war. She tells Kaijali to give out a strategy to the people in the village. The villagers beg Henri and Nfai to lead the women and children out of the village. Kaijali urges Henri to use the horn to summon more goblins once the war is over. The villagers finally opened the gate, but to the greatest dismay of Barbro, ogres came out and started attacking his army. While the children and Henri were trying to escape through the back gate, some guards stationed at the back gate started to pursue them. Henri blows the horn out of desperation. Suddenly, an army of goblins came out of nowhere. Kaijali and the other goblins run to where the goblin army were. The royal army still tried to fight the goblins, but they were no match for them. Seeing that his army was no match for the troll army, Barbro calls for his army to retreat. They managed to escape with their lives. Later that night, at the camp, Barbro is furious that the great royal army was defeated by mere goblins. Shortly after, Lupus Regina came to kill the rest of the army. She instructed the red-capped goblins to assassinate the whole army, including the prince himself. Back at the kingdom, the emperor plans to betray Lord Ains, but first, he wanted to use Lord Ains. The emperor wanted to impose fear upon other kingdoms, which was the reason for him asking for support from the great tomb of Nazarick. The royal army get to know about the death of their own and decide to go all out in their fight. The emperor sends a message to the royal army declaring war. Due to the number of forces they were going to be up against, the royal army had more morale. They underestimated the emperor, who had the greatest and most important trump card, which was Lord Ains. The emperor gave way for Lord Ains and his army. The head warrior of the royal army, on seeing this, had to retreat. Although he retreated, the royal army still stayed. Lord Ains wiped out the whole front line force of the royal army with only one spell. The fun had only begun for Lord Ains as he begun another spell to the goddess of infertility. This time, the spell summons 5 monsters. Lord Ains is very happy, as he had broken a new record. He was the first ever to summon 5 of the goddess's infertility children. Lord Ains told Mare that the aim of him joining the emperor was to show other kingdoms how powerful he was. He then commanded the monsters to attack the royal army. This time, the whole army scattered. They ran for their lives. Unfortunately, most of the royal army is destroyed. The king refuses to leave the battleground. Lord Ains, on the other hand, decided to go clean up the battleground by himself. The king finally agrees to retreat. The head warrior organizes a group who would go the opposite direction. The group would go with horses in order to make the monsters pursue them, while the king would go the other way on the back of one of the guards. Lord Ains tried to persuade Master Stronov to join him. Lord Ains made it known to him that his response will determine what was going to happen to the 5 monsters. Stronov refused the offer, and in return requested for a duel with Lord Ains. Lord Ains tries to talk Stronov out of fighting with him. He tried doing this to avoid killing Stronov because he had some background history with Stronov. After much talk, Lord Ains decides to go ahead with the fight. Immediately, the fight started. Lord Ains stopped time and walked toward to where Stronov was and cast a spell on him. The spell was a true death spell, which killed him instantly. Lord Ains restarted time again. As time was set back to normal, Stronov fell to the ground. Stronov's comrades came and took his body back to the castle. Lord Ains gave one of Stronov's comrades an instruction to give to the king. The instruction was to tell the king to relinquish his role as king and step down. After much thought, the king decided, alongside the nobles, to give up his post and role as the king. The next day, Lord Ains and his people went to the palace to assume their role. On their way, a child threw a stone at the carriage harboring Lord Ains. In response, Albedo tries to kill both the boy and his mother, but she is stopped by Momon. In order to avoid slaughter and despair, Lord Ains makes a deal with Momon. The deal was to allow Momon to join the alliance and be a part of the world domination. Momon accepts the terms. Lord Ains gets to the throne and becomes the king of the Riestes kingdom. Will Lord Ains finally achieve world domination? Or will one of his allies he has made be a detriment to his plan? We'll find out that and more in due time. For now, kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel to get more anime recaps like this. Till then, take care and stay safe.